I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Canon. We've been Disney fans our entire lives. And now, as childless adults, we're undertaking a journey through the media that shaped our lives.
Trying to find out if what made them special is still there.
We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hey, Kiki.
Hi, Tuesday.
Yay, Rewatching the Magic episode 3. And, off the top, last week's episode was really long, wasn't it?
Yeah, if you made it through that, and I've already heard from a couple of people who did, bless you, we appreciate you. It was not intended. I don't think either of us realized how long that was until it was edited.
Keep in mind, I edited about another 45 minutes off of that, and it's still over 3 hours.
Yeah. We promise this one will be shorter.
All right, so we are talking 1992 Aladdin. That's today's subject, and it like a lot of these projects, there's a lot of history behind it, and it's kind of become part of the show. We talk a little bit of the history behind the movie. So, trying to make this short, 1988-89, right after working on The Little Mermaid, Howard Ashman came to Disney with a proposal for a musical based off Aladdin. This was his pet project, his baby, as it were. And studio loved this idea of doing Aladdin, and they greenlit the project. Keep in mind, they have not been brought on, Ashman and Macon was not brought on to Beauty and the Beast yet, and was not brought on to Beauty and the Beast after Aladdin was greenlit. So Ashman and Macon are working on two projects at the same time, which is the norm for Disney these days, but to have this was kind of a lot of pressure on both of them.
Yeah, but it really was, according to everyone around at the time, this really was his, dream project. So
this is how much of a dream project it was. He didn't just have a small proposal. He had a full script and 8 songs written before the project was even approved. You can find all of these cut songs, the original demo songs that Ashman and Macon wrote. They're out there. You can find them online. You can go on YouTube to search Howard Ashman Aladdin demos, and you can get essentially an entire movie's worth of songs that are cut from this movie. And
we'll talk about it at the end, I'm sure, but Disney Plus even has one of the cut songs.
Yeah.
That they've got like a little animatic up for it.
So there's a lot of changes. A lot of characters that got cut, a lot of changes. Love interest was different. Yeah, it was not Princess Jasmine originally. But the big change I want to make a point of was Aladdin had a mother character. There was a mother character. Aladdin's mother was a main character in this movie. And was Aladdin's motivation. Aladdin wanted to prove himself to his mother, have his mother be proud of him, hence the big cut song from the movie, Proud of Your Boy.
Yeah, which did later end up in the musical. If you listen to that song, you can tell that was just 100% Howard Ashman.
Yeah.
It is a very, I'm gonna guess, personal song. And the people who knew him said that was kind of a very personal song that blurred the lines a little bit between writer and character for him.
Well, he was, a gay man, so, maybe that was maybe he had family issues. He wanted to make sure, even with all of his success, that his mother really wasn't, or maybe he felt his mother wasn't proud of him.
I mean, wouldn't have been an uncommon thing for a gay man growing up when he grew up. So it is an unfortunately very common story from the time.
Yeah. So all of that, all the work on both Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin at the same time.
Yeah.
Fast forward. Go ahead.
Just real quick, I will note that it did seem to be Howard Ashman's idea that this was going to be much more comedic than your typical Disney film. So the fact that it contains a lot of comedy did seem to be in the original treatment.
Yeah. So we fast forward. Let's get fast forward a bit. 1991, months before Beauty and the Beast premieres, we talked about it last week. Howard Ashman dies from complications from AIDS. Very sad. Again, with his contributions to Beauty and the Beast was done. He had nothing. All they do was finish the animation. But when it comes to Aladdin, there was still a lot of work to do. So they brought on songwriter Tim Rice to finish the project with Alan Menken. Anything to add to that?
I mean, Tim Rice, I don't think people really understand how big of a coup that kind of was at the time. I mean, even for Disney, because remember, they were still at the beginning of the Renaissance when they were bringing these in. Little Mermaid had been a success, and I'm not sure if they brought on Tim Rice before or after Beauty and the Beast came out, like hit theaters and became what it became. But Ashman and Menken did have like a musical background. We talked about it before, but so they were known a little bit. But Tim Rice is like Andrew Lloyd Webber's guy. He did, I mean, God, let's run down the list. Jesus Christ Superstar, he did Evita, he did Joseph and the Man's Technicolor Dreamcoat, all of those with Webber. He worked with Benny and Bjorn from ABBA. And they did Chess, the musical Chess, together, and everything. And all of that was prior to, so he was already like Tony winner and all this kind of stuff. So the fact that they got Tim Rice was really kind of big news for anybody who followed music. And even as a little kid, I was kind of like, that's even a name I know, So
yeah, but you're a theater nerd.
Yeah, I mean, I am a theater nerd, but remember that like internet wasn't really a thing then, and so sometimes knowing behind the scenes things was a little harder.
Yeah.
Especially for a little kid in a small town. So the fact that even I was kind of like, oh, Tim Rice,
And of course, Tim Rice would continue working with Disney. He would work on The Lion King with Elton John, and we'll talk more about that when we get to The Lion King in later episodes. But so after Ashman dies, Tim Rice is brought on, and at the studio's insistence, and despite everyone involved with this movie protesting it, they really didn't have a choice, but they had to cut Aladdin's mother from the final script. Which really sucks because, as we talked before, Ashman really wanted this mother character in the film. He really wanted the song itself. That's what the big thing. A lot of people who worked on the film. The big loss of the mother was the loss of the song "Proud of Your Boy," and it felt like people who were working the film had said losing the mother, losing that song was like losing Howard all over again.
You say that everybody didn't want it cut, but it kind of came down on high. That one does seem to be down to Katzenberg.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, Katzenberg was not very gentle in the way he broke that news. I think he said, like, the mom is a loser or something.
I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen a little bit of those early sketches, early scripts, or early scenes that got put online. The mother is kind of a redundant character, especially when you have a lot of the explanation done by other characters in the film. So I understand why the mother got cut, but I also understand from the people working on this film who wanted to keep her simply out of respect for Howard.
Yeah, and also it would have been kind of a coup at the time for Disney to have like a mom in the story.
So again, if you are interested in any of these old cut, like now at this point with the final film, about 12 songs that Ashman wrote for this movie that might have gotten cut, they're online somewhere. You can find them.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you are a fan of this film, and I would recommend finding those demo songs, those 12 demo songs, and just listening to them to see or hear the differences between what Ashman intended these songs to be and what they ended up being in the final film.
Yeah.
And is there was there anything else you want to talk about before we get into the film proper?
No, let's just go ahead and dive into it.
All right, we open up the movie Arabian Nights, sung by Bruce Adler. And that whole scene is it's a great introduction to Agrabah itself, almost making Agrabah a character in itself.
Yeah, Agrabah's got a lot of, let's call it like, local flavor or something in there. Very much more than a lot of the other places we see. I mean, we kind of see, Triton's kingdom and stuff, but we don't really know a lot about it and how it works. It's just you kind of see it for one scene. And Bellstown, we get a little bit more about the people there, but still they're all kind of stock characters.
Yeah.
But Agrabah seems very full of life, and it seems very, you've got a lot of characters in there that you kind of know what they're about and stuff. Even the ones that don't speak. Like, there are so many gags with the fire eater.
Yeah.
In there, I mean, he's a character of his own, and he's just kind of always in the background of scenes, and he never says anything. But he is kind of his own. You know a lot about that guy by the end of the movie. So I really respect what they did with kind of making it a fully realized world.
Yeah. Let's go to when we find out that. Go ahead. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. Are we gonna talk about the lyrics?
Oh yeah, the fact that when this movie was originally released, Arabian Nights had completely different lyrics, and they had to change them when they went to the home video release.
Yeah. So the original line, and we both saw this one in theaters, and I bought the soundtrack also almost immediately. But yeah, the original release of the soundtrack also had the original lyrics and all, which is at the beginning he originally said that Agrabah was a place where they cut off your ear if they don't like your face. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. And when the movie came out, there was a bit of a backlash on that. And they re-recorded it, and this is what you'll see now if you watch it on TV or any of the video or DVD releases and Disney Plus. It says, where it's flat and immense and the heat is intense, it's barbaric, but hey, it's home. And I had forgotten that this was the controversy and they had changed it, because it really did happen like when the movie came out. I mean, they re-edited it as soon as it left theaters. And a friend of mine mentioned it to me when I was talking about my rewatch, and I was like, oh yeah, that did happen. But the funny thing is that when I was watching it, I made a note that, like, this movie has a warning for tobacco use, which it doesn't much. Like, there's hookahs in the background and stuff, but there's not really a lot of stuff like with Grimsby and his pipe, But we don't get a warning for outdated cultural depictions.
Yeah.
And that maybe is a thing they should address, because even changing that line the little bit they did, and it's the only change they made, it still is just, I think it's barbaric, but hey, it's home is the much more offensive line in that, and why that didn't get changed as well, I question. The other thing that I noticed, I mean, as long as we're talking about culturally, is this is an incredibly violent film, at least in theory. Because, it starts off with them trying to just straight up murder Aladdin for stealing a loaf of bread. And then they try to cut Jasmine's hand off. And then they also, at pretty much every time they mention somebody dying, it's by beheading in the movie. And I think that it is, you can love a piece of media and still be kind of questioning about the things about it that don't really hold up. And I think that's kind of one with Aladdin, is that there's a lot there that's slightly more subtle and insidious, I think, than people are willing to own up to in some ways. So it's fine to love it. I'm not knocking anybody who doesn't, because I do. But, admit that there's some issue there, maybe. It's all I'm saying.
So let's move on to the introduction of the Peddler, voiced by Robin Williams. One of the things about Robin Williams in this movie is I've always heard that a lot of his dialogue is improv. So this entire scene with him in the with the merchandise, this has to be all improv. There's no way this is written down. This is the way it's being delivered.
Well, yeah, and the way Robin Williams worked on anything is, I'm not saying that he always ignored a script, but he was very well known, and he was known by the time they cast him in Aladdin, so they already knew what they were getting. Is the script was more of a guideline for Robin. It seems it was, you've got to get from point A to point B. The route you take to get there matters less. Mm-hmm. So they probably gave him something very simple and was like, hey, I'm going to tell you the story of a diamond in the rough, and also I'm going to try to sell you these things while you're here. And then he probably just went off. But did they write down, this is Dead Sea Tupperware, it still burps, it's good? Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably all of that was in the booth at the time, and from what I hear, there's just hours upon hours upon hours of stuff that they couldn't use.
Yeah.
It would have been like a 17-hour movie if they'd have put everything Robin Williams came up with.
I would buy a Blu-ray with just all of Robin Williams' outtakes on it.
Yeah, honestly, if you just put up the raw footage in the recording booth, I would watch that every year in a repeat.
So we finally, the Peddler transitions us to.
Are we going to talk about the theory about the Peddler that the fandom has?
Oh, that fan theory was confirmed earlier this year.
It was. It's just a recent thing that they've kind of been like, yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna pass that to you. You say the theory.
Yeah. The theory is that since this character is also voiced by Robin Williams and makes the same kind of jokes and seems to have a kind of knowledge beyond what he should have, that this is actually the genie masquerading as a human in a different part of the world and spreading the story of Aladdin. And they have confirmed that was kind of what they had in mind.
Yeah, the original work print or whatever ending was released, and it was just you see the Peddler one last time at the end, and he said, "What did I tell you? Looks can be deceiving," and he turns into the genie.
Yeah, and for years this was just kind of the wacky fan theory. Mm-hmm. You'd have people in the early days of the internet, as our generation was kind of starting to grow up, that they were like, "Hey, do you think that guy was really the genie?" And then people would be like, "You're nuts. That's not
coincidence. This is both, voiced by the same character, voiced by the same actors. But yeah, that was confirmed that the original idea was for the Peddler to be the genie in disguise, with somehow still carrying the lamp, but telling the story of Aladdin, spreading that story.
Yeah, you carry things from house to house. He just carries his former house. It'd
be a living space. All right, so I guess we can move on from there.
Yeah.
We get Jafar, played by the amazing Jonathan Freeman. And
yeah, more on him later, but yeah. Jonathan Freeman.
Jonathan Freeman, the only actor in this movie to reprise the role on stage. It was just true. He actually was in the Broadway production of Aladdin. Look it up. He's on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And Iago, played by Gilbert Gottfried. And no, I'm not going to do a Gilbert Gottfried impression.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this movie's got a lot of comedy talent in it.
Yeah.
Like I said, Ashman really did want this to be a comedy movie. And they went for it.
If you want to take a look at, look at the talent that was in the movie A Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you can just say he wanted to make this a little bit more, I guess because of the theming of the Arabian Night world, that he wanted to have a little bit more comedy to lighten the mood.
Yeah, I think he kind of thought it was going to be a throwback to, like, the same sort of 1930s adventure films that kind of gave us the idea for Indiana Jones and some of those other things, these kind of pulp adventure movies, but also he was probably thinking, like, Road to Morocco and stuff like that. These kind of goofball comedies that a lot of them were set in the Middle East, the Arabian world, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So, Gazim the Thief. Doesn't last long in this movie. There's not much we can say about him.
Yeah, we can say a little bit about him, which is that he was voiced by Charlie Adler.
Yep.
Who we spoke about having been in Little Mermaid.
Yep.
And famously, the voice of Buster Bunny and all that kind of stuff. So, big name voice actor that is kind of a bit part in this film.
And we are also introduced to the Cave of Wonders, voiced by the legendary Frank Welker.
Frank Welker! He is your childhood.
Yes. If you watch the cartoon in the 80s and 90s, he is your childhood.
If you watch a cartoon now, he is your adulthood or your children's childhood. Or, I mean, that man is still going strong, and bless him for it.
And yeah, I have to thank the studio gods for letting him still voice Scooby-Doo in the new movie that's coming out.
Yeah. The Cave of Wonders is also notable because it's yet more CGI in a 2D Disney movie.
Yeah.
They really went hard on the CGI in this, while still being a 2D movie. I mean, I was kind of surprised at how much was in there that I had forgotten about.
Most of the Cave of Wonders itself, the inside is CG, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few other spots where they did things like that, but the Cave of Wonders mostly is where you find it.
So things don't go well for Kazim, as he's not worthy to enter the cave. Only one can enter the cave, the diamond in the rough. Yeah, Kazim's not the diamond in the rough. And Kitty gets a treat.
Yeah, and that is really the last we see of Kazim. We know that the Cave of Wonders can theoretically be survived to some extent, but it seems he did not.
Yeah. We meet the diamond in the rough. It's Aladdin, voiced by Scott Ringer, singing voice of Brad Kane. Well, let's just reiterate your own opinion of Disney doing this at this time of having a character voiced by two different actors in two different roles of singing and acting.
I really don't like it as much. I would prefer, because there are so many good actors out there who can do both.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Broadway is full of them doing 8 shows a week, So it's not that they can't find people to do this. And the thing is that listening to even like Brad Kane's speaking voice, he would have made a perfectly fine Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
I will, however, give Scott Weinger credit though, because he really wanted this part. He sent in a audition tape that he made at home with his mom playing the genie, and sent it into Disney. So that's dedication.
So yeah, he really wanted it, and I'm glad. Well, I mean, you really can't think these days of Aladdin without thinking of him. And I always go back to, there was an episode of Full House where he was fully dressed up as Aladdin.
Yeah, I know I watched Full House as a kid, but it was a show that made so little impact on me. I can't tell you anything about the plot of any single episode or any character, kind of, other than there was a dad and 3 uncles and the Olsen twins were in it. It's a TV series my brain has kind of expunged for more important things.
All right, so all this for a loaf of bread. He's getting chased by the entire army of the Royal Guards over a loaf of bread. Little extreme.
I will respect this movie for something it doesn't get a lot of respect for, which is that this is it's a very political movie in some ways. Aladdin is absolutely presented as a thief.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of proudly owns the title. But Aladdin is also our hero, and his thieving is never the moral issue that is brought up with him.
Even in the song, he says he's only stealing so he can eat.
Yeah.
He's not stealing for money. He's stealing food so he can eat, so he can live another day.
Even in the Cave of Wonders, he's like, wow, all this treasure. I could be richer than the Sultan. But I'm here. I've been told not to touch it. I will take the lamp. I will leave.
Mm-hmm.
Abu is a totally different story.
Yeah, Abu.
Abu is constantly stealing anything he can get his paws on, but Aladdin is very thoughtful. He steals from, merchants with a lot of stock. He steals from kind of wealthier people.
People who can afford the loss.
Yeah, but he seems very survival based. The second that he has the option of not stealing, he takes that gladly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I rather respect that they never really ethically come down on Aladdin for his stealing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a survival tactic that he is forced into by a rather uncaring society, rather than any sort of personality flaw on his behalf. And that is a very kind of enlightened idea, I feel, in that. So, props to them for writing that.
So yeah, we also meet Razul, Captain of the Guard, another voice acting legend in Jim Cummings.
Yeah.
Another voice of your childhood. This guy was Darkwing Duck.
Yeah. And he does
Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore and
Tigger.
Tigger.
Yeah, he does Tigger. Good grief. And the cool thing about Jim Cummings is he's also the stunt voice of Scar, which we will get to in much greater detail when we do The Lion King.
Yeah.
I am going to talk your ear off about that. Because it's one of my favorite parts of The Lion King.
And we meet Abu. Hey, it's Frank Welker again. How many characters does Frank Welker voice in this movie? Answer, 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly, I cannot say enough about Frank Welker. Go on IMDb and look at this man's page. He has possibly more credits than anyone else on IMDb. I know at one point he had the most.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure if that still holds. Just absolutely a legend. And his main thing is doing these kind of animal voices. We've talked about it before. He also does Raja in this, Jasmine's tiger, later on. But Yeah, it's just what a legend. Um, he has currently 847 actor credits on IMDb. That is 847 individual productions. Remember that most of those he plays multiple roles within them.
Yes, he's about half the cast of Transformers.
Oh yeah, easily. And he's both Fred and Scooby-Doo for most of the Scooby-Doo productions recently.
And again, like we said, he's playing Scooby-Doo in the new movie, and I'm glad he is.
Yeah. So,
This whole
bless him.
scene...
You keep on trucking, Frank.
This whole one jump ahead scene is just pure fun. I was having fun watching this again. This whole thing...
Yeah, this is a very energetic opening song. I guess it also kind of the reprise to this kind of also doubles as his I Want song in a way.
It is.
But it's very lyrically tight, and I love it. It's very fast paced. It's very the rhythm is very nice, and the interesting turns of phrase.
Yeah. And it's like you can even on my rewatch, Aladdin is like really having fun during this whole chase sequence, even though he's getting chased by people who want to kill him. And it's like I call it, at least to me, it's like one of the most beautiful chase scenes in animation. This whole scene.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. We meet the kind of... Talk about a thing you don't really think of when you're a kid that on a rewatch kind of gets you, is that it is obvious that at one point Aladdin ends up in a brothel.
I have that in my notes, yes.
Yeah, and talk about a thing we didn't get when we were kids. It's just like, oh look, he ended up in the house of those three beautiful sisters, I guess.
And I guess their mom doesn't like him because he's a thief? No, young one, no. That's not what it is at all.
Yeah,
Luckily, go ahead.
Watching it as an adult, it is very obvious. This is a brothel, that's the madam. He can't afford to pay for their services. Get out.
That's why he don't like, a poor guy in a brothel, and of course the women aren't going to like him.
Yeah.
In the remake, they have changed it to a classroom, a girls' school, which is better.
Yeah, I guess.
So the girls are actually studying and not,
laying around waiting for customers.
Yes. The ending of the whole thing is a bit of foreshadowing, because how does Aladdin escape the guards? By riding a carpet.
Yeah.
I just have here in my notes, manure, I hate manure.
Yeah, I thought of that too. I was like, that is a very kind of specific thing to have happen to them. So I wonder if they were thinking about that when they animated it, because that would have been out, already in the zeitgeist as it was.
Yeah, Back to the Future 2 probably had just come out earlier that year at this point. It's 92, so maybe 3. Anyway, so and then you also, in the next scene, you have to get a little bit more of Aladdin's heart. Aladdin splits the bread with Abu, and he sees the 2 homeless children who are just trying to find something to eat in a garbage can or whatever. And he gives them the bread. So it shows that, yes, he's a thief, but he also has a heart. These children are hungry. He's going to give the only food he has to these children.
Yeah, and Abu is not terribly happy about it.
No, he's not.
Abu is always a little more ethically dubious than Aladdin. But Aladdin doesn't hesitate. That's what I like, is that Aladdin, you kind of, the way they've animated it, you kind of see it in his face that he's like, oh man, I really wanted to eat today. But he doesn't, he doesn't seem to have a moment where he even considers any other option.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little regret, because he's like, oh man, I know I'm going to be hungry later, but obviously, kids.
Yeah. So again, it's a good dude, that Aladdin. So, Prince Ahmed. That's it. Let's talk about a little bit about Prince Ahmed as he strides down the street. And almost whips these children for running out in front of him.
They really, really wanted us to hate Prince Ahmed. He's probably the secondary villain.
Even though he's not in the movie that long.
Yeah.
You are a worthless street rat. You were born a street rat. You'll die a street rat. And only your fleas will mourn you. Yeah. I love that line, even though it's like a total a-hole line. It's just the way it was written. It was just like totally dismissive.
Yeah, and Aladdin's, not every day you see a horse with two rear ends.
Yeah, I love that line.
It's such an iconic comeback. Good for you, Aladdin.
Oh, then again, Aladdin's I Want song with the reprise. This is where Proud of Your Boy usually goes in the stage production. So Aladdin dreams of being rich, and he won't have any problems because he'll be rich. Oh, Aladdin, you naive fool.
Yeah. I'm glad that they did not make that the moral of the story.
That money equals happiness?
Yeah, which you can kind of argue that the original tale
that was
sort of makes that the moral of the story. And I'm very glad that whoever made that decision, whether it was Ashman himself or somebody that took over later, I'm super, super glad.
I'm going to say that was Ashman, because in Ashman's original script, he married another girl from the marketplace. He never married Princess Jasmine.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. So yeah, I like that they didn't go that route.
So let's talking about Princess Jasmine. Let's beat Princess Jasmine as Prince Ahmed storms out of the castle, obviously in a failed attempt to woo the princess. He is out of there. Just good luck marrying her off. Let's talk about the Sultan, Douglas Seal. Very good acting there.
Yeah, he's such a sweetheart. Like, he's a complete moron, but you gotta love him.
He's not the smartest king, but he's a very well-meaning king. He's a very caring father as well. Princess Jasmine, Linda Larkin, voiced by Lea Salonga. So we learned the rule, the law of the land, that the princess must be married to the prince by, quote, her next birthday. We don't know what that means. Is it an 18th birthday? Is it a 21st birthday? We never know. But she must get married to a prince by her next birthday, which is in 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, according to the, official Disney line, she's 16. I don't know if that means her upcoming birthday will be her 16th birthday, or she's 16 going on 17, as the song would have it.
Yeah. I mean, I assume it's an issue of having heirs to the throne, but, again, this is trying to marry off a 16/17-year-old girl. And I know it's Disney, and because a lot of the princesses tend to be young teenagers, but yeah.
I mean, Aladdin is 18, so it's roughly the same as Ariel and Prince Eric.
Yeah. So we learned a lot about Jasmine here. She wants to marry for love. If she wants going to marry somebody, it's going to be for love, and she wants a life. She doesn't want to live anyone else's life. She wants to live her own life, and she's never been outside the palace. So she's been locked, at least again, this is another thing that they address in the remake, where the reason the Sultan has kept Jasmine in the palace all of her life is because her mother was murdered.
The Disney remakes are really, really, really depressing on the moms.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big beef of mine with Beauty and the Beast, like how much they went in on the dead mom. And that. So not thrilled to find out that it's in the remake of Aladdin, which I have not seen.
Yes, I think it was in the marketplace where the mother was murdered. Jasmine does that kind of goes to something that you said earlier, in an earlier episode, of a princess who doesn't want to be a princess.
Yeah, and a lot of people want to give Jasmine the, she's the first one that's really a rebel, and said, no, go back and watch these movies. They've all been kind of rebellious. It's just that Jasmine is a little more forward about it. She kind of, it's not hinted at with Jasmine. She's like, I do not want to be a princess anymore, you know.
And you kind of get the rationalization from the Sultan. He just wants his daughter taken care of, which in one way it's a good father, but in another way it's like your daughter wants to live her own life. She doesn't want to be taken care of.
Yeah.
I love the line, Allah forbid you should have any daughters. I just love that line.
I love the look from Raja, too, because you know that Raja is thinking, like, I've never even seen a female of my species. Look around, dude. Do you see a lot of tigers here?
Yeah.
Where do you think I'm getting cubs from? Hello.
I also love the later line where the Sultan says, her mother wasn't nearly so picky. And it's like, you're putting yourself down, dude.
Well, once again, not the brightest bulb there with the Sultan.
Well, he's a short, fat dude. So I think that's kind of his rationalization. Like, I'm short and fat. My wife married me. Why can't my daughter just marry somebody?
Yeah, I'm not sure that short and fat is really his kind of issue. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of women that would turn him down for that. Let's not kid ourselves. But yeah, it's just I don't know. But he's so super kind, and people overlook that a lot of times, and that's sad.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe that's why Jasmine's mother went to him. He was just a kind person, and she valued that. We don't know.
Yeah, if all of her other suitors were like Prince Ahmed, you know, and it seems that all of Jasmine's suitors have been very similar to Prince Ahmed.
Yeah.
So you know.
So Jafar, we find that Jafar has been hypnotizing the Sultan this whole time, which kind of explains how someone like him could be in the position that he's in.
Yeah, I love how Jafar is kind of introduced into his role in the palace, because it's just such a great reveal of, you know, Jafar, my trusted advisor, panning into the most obvious villain shot in all of Disney history.
Yeah, bum bum bum. Even the musical cue right there. Like, this is the bad guy, kids.
Yeah, in case you missed the first scene because you were getting popcorn, this is our villain.
So Jafar takes the ring from the Sultan. His plan is to become the Sultan. You know, there are ways to do that, but you know, he'll find ways later in the movie. Yeah. So Jasmine's out of there. She just is done. She's done with the whole princess thing. She is out of there, and the parting between Jasmine and Raja is so sad.
You know, I get abandoning the palace, but abandoning your kitty, that is ice water in your veins, Jasmine. Wait, how dare you?
Maybe she's not like Belle, who's swole and can probably carry Raja.
This is our kind of first movie without a secretly swole Disney character. No one really has any like bizarre feats of strength in this one. The entire cast of Aladdin skipped leg day. Sorry, move on.
So Jasmine's out of there, and we're back. Let's go back to the marketplace where we see Jasmine there, and Aladdin and Boo are back to their old tricks. So Jasmine walking through the marketplace, and Aladdin gets a look at her, and he is into that girl. He's hooked.
And Abu does not like that.
Abu does not want the competition.
Yeah. Abu's a weirdo.
Yeah.
He's a crazy little weird monkey, man.
I mean, it's not uncommon for in real life for pets to not like their master's partners, from what I've seen.
Yeah. That can be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as we talked about before, Jasmine gives a hungry kid a piece of food off a market table, and things don't go well. As Jasmine almost gets her hand cut off. Now imagine if Aladdin hadn't interfered and Jasmine did get her hand cut off. Well, imagine what the Sultan would have done.
Yeah, that would have been. Honestly, it may have been better for the kingdom because the Sultan may have outlawed that as a form of quote unquote punishment. Which would have been, much better societally, perhaps. Not that I would wish such a thing on anyone. This really sets up Jasmine as a equal in a lot of ways to Aladdin. Because both of them see hungry children and immediately go like, oh, hungry children, you must give them food. It's just that Jasmine has never been in a situation where food was not just freely given. And I think it's very obvious that she doesn't quite understand monetary systems in general. Which, bless her for that. I wish more people were like her. The idea of there is food here, there is a hungry person, put those two things together, no money needs to change hands. That's excellent ethics there, Disney. I wish you practiced them in real life.
Which leads to one of the funny scenes in the film, which Aladdin steps in, says Jasmine is his sister, and that she's crazy. And then, Jasmine playing along, going to the camel. Oh, hello, doctor. How are you?
Yeah, I love her extra mile. Like her bowing to Abu, you're like, okay, she's playing along. But when she turns to the camel and goes, hello, doctor, I think even Aladdin is like, wow, you are really committed to this bit. Okay.
Yeah, she thinks the monkey's the Sultan and all of that. It's like, and it's just the way she was animated as well, with this very far off spacey look, like, hello, doctor.
Yeah, the animation on the eyes there is amazing. So, good job, animators.
But it doesn't work because Abu had to steal because it's Abu. And back to the chase. Jafar finds out that Aladdin is the diamond in the rough that he needs and dispatches the guards, not knowing that Jasmine is there. So, obviously Aladdin and Jasmine get away. They're at his place, and the view of the palace. The reveal of the palace, the way that's done, is beautifully done. And I believe the palace is CG as well.
I'm not sure a lot of it is. There are parts of it that are, but I think most of the film, it's 2D animation. Later on, the tower, one of the towers is kind of very obviously CG'd in a couple of scenes. But I think most of it is just traditional 2D.
The conversation the two have about street life versus palace life, both how they both feel trapped in their lives, is just the comparison, I guess.
Yeah, it's another big theme of the movie because all three main characters are trapped somehow
in their respective lives, and they want to get out of it. Yeah.
So it comes up again immediately upon meeting the genie. I mean, they're all somehow imprisoned by their
situation,
societal role, I guess you would call it.
Yeah, and Aladdin actually gets really slick in his dialogue of using Abu to, oh, that's not fair.
Yeah.
And Jasmine falls for it. Granted, she's probably never...
It's a cute guy with an adorable monkey. I dare you not to fall for that. Come on.
And he's actually being nice to her, which, considering her recent suitors, probably is something she could appreciate.
Yeah.
Guards come in. They're after me. They're after you? Love that scene. And of course, the big line. Kiki, I have one question to ask you. Do you trust me?
I don't know. You seem a little sketchy.
Which, if that had been in the movie would be done.
Yeah, that would have been the end of the movie. Thank you. Go home. No, of course she trusts him. He's an adorable dude with a monkey. How do you not... I mean, seriously. Okay.
So they try to escape, and it didn't work, because Aladdin gets captured. Jasmine reveals herself as the princess, saying release him, and oh, my orders come from Jafar. You got to talk with him. Yeah, that's starting the friction between Jasmine and Jafar there.
I think it's kind of obvious before that she didn't like him. Like, he's not her favorite person in the world, but I don't think she's like out to get him until that point.
Yeah. And then, of course, Jafar said, like we were talking before, that Aladdin had been beheaded for kidnapping the princess. Which, nice lie, nice cover there, even though, he had no idea that she was there. Fast forward, I'm going to go to the dungeon scene, and Abu impersonating Jasmine.
Yeah, Abu impersonating Jasmine was hilarious. Yeah.
Frank Welker's work in that scene. Jafar in disguise. Let's go to the cave. Whoever has the gold makes the rules. I love that line.
Yeah.
It's true.
And it really is the difference between Jafar and Aladdin. Yeah. In that sense, is that Aladdin is like, I literally only have this loaf of bread, but I will give it to another person because they might need it more, or I have compassion, or whatever. And Jafar is just like, I got money, I got power,
Screw you guys.
Everybody else. Yeah.
So, let's fast forward to the Cave of Wonders, where Aladdin enters the cave. Touch only the lamp. And we are introduced to the magic carpet, which is, again, all CG animation. Another thing that you were talking about back in Beauty and the Beast, a silent sentient sidekick.
And it's, bravo to the animators of how much personality that the carpet is able to portray.
Yeah.
You kind of know its every inner thought. I like that at first it's like, hey, a monkey, I'm going to mess with its head. It's like, because it really does. It just like stalks Abu through the cave and is like, once again, it's another Disney scene that in another context would be a horror movie.
Yeah.
But, it steals his hat and it, kind of. But the second that Aladdin is just like, oh, it's just a playful little pet or whatever.
Yeah, it's a magic carpet. Can you, and I love that he actually takes advantage of the carpet being there. Like, oh, you must know this cave inside and out. Can you tell us where this lamp's at? And he's like, yes, I can tell you exactly where this lamp is at.
Yeah, Aladdin is really good at tricking people in that way, as we'll see again later.
Yeah. So then we go to the lamp. We are introduced in that shot of Aladdin picking up the lamp. I always say the shot, and this is one of them from this movie. Whenever you see Disney advertiser animated movies, it's always a shot of Aladdin picking up the lamp.
I've got the shot for this movie, and we'll get to it later when it comes up.
Abu can't help himself, because it's a little Abu and he's a little thief.
And that is a giant ruby.
Yeah.
In fairness.
Infidels, you have touched the forbidden treasure. And again, I love Frank Welker's performance because it's Frank Welker admonishing Frank Welker.
It is kind of interesting, though, that the cave's use of infidels really does suggest that this is not just a magic cave, but like a holy cave. Mm. Like this cave was put here by God to guard something, Maybe it's... And, I am far from the authority on Arabic culture, but there is some back and forth of the place of jinn in kind of both pre-Islamic religion and Islamic religion in the region. So I don't know. It very well could be that God is guarding the genie's lamp.
Maybe it's Allah. They mentioned Allah a lot, so maybe it is Allah's cave. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
They said a lot of the CG is, by today's standard, a bit dated, but it still works in the scene.
Yeah, I think this one holds up less well than Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast, a couple of times in the close-ups of the characters, the background didn't track quite well. This one is like, you watch it and you're kind of like, it's not the worst CGI holdup I've seen, but it is very obviously early 90s CGI.
Yeah. So, thanks to the carpet, Aladdin makes it back to the entrance, and Jafar turns on him. Here's your eternal reward. And Abu scuffle, just runs up on Jafar and is able to secure the lamp. Good Abu.
Yeah, I mean, the one time that Abu's kind of kleptomania tendencies help Aladdin instead of almost get him killed.
But again, right after almost getting him killed minutes earlier.
Yeah.
That big no that Jafar does after realizing he was so close to it. It just, again, that Jonathan Freeman was really good in that one.
Yeah. Much better than the Vader no.
Yes. Father-daughter moment, Jasmine and the Sultan, where Jasmine just I didn't even know his name, and kind of, it's a good father-daughter moment. That's all I can say about that scene.
It is a nice relationship that they've got there. I'm glad that the Sultan is portrayed as kind and gentle and generally well-meaning, because you never get the feeling that he would have ever let Jafar have power if he'd have realized what Jafar was.
And we do find that out later in the movie.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the cave, where Aladdin finally gets the lamp. And enter Robin Williams as the genie. Again, a lot of Robin's dialogue in this movie is ad-libbed, and I think a lot of it has to be the references to other things.
Yeah, I think this is the first movie. I mean, it's normal now in a Disney film, but this film went heavy on the cameos.
Yeah.
The Sultan's little tower he's building has the Beast in it. Everything the genie does just keeps bringing up characters from other movies. I mean, there's a lot of, hey, other Disney films exist in this movie.
Yeah.
And eventually it becomes standard. I mean, eventually looking for the hidden callbacks is now just a game we all play. But at the time, even as a kid, I was like, wait, was that Sebastian the Crab he just pulled out? Wait, is he wearing a Goofy hat? Like, what, So
at least when he turned into Pinocchio, it made sense.
Yeah, the Pinocchio kind of did make sense. But yeah, he brings up classic Disney characters. He brings up more recent stuff. Some of it is rather obscure.
And again, the references to other comedians such as Groucho Marx.
I know I caught Groucho. I caught Rodney Dangerfield. I'm forgetting all the one. But he does like 5 different comedians in that first sort of 10 to 20 minutes with the genie.
Yeah. The whole scene of Friend Like Me is beautiful. The way that whole thing's animated. And Robin Williams makes this song. There's just no way, I know Ashman had a different person in mind. He wanted it more of a jazzy style with a actual jazz singer playing the role of the genie, which in a way kind of mirrors Levi Stubbs as RB2 in Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if anyone could have done this song or even the character of the genie justice other than Robin Williams.
Yeah, I mean, it's now one of those things where it's just, you can't imagine it any other way. And I'm not, that's not to cast any aspersions on the amazing actors who have done it on Broadway and stuff, but even they are pulling from that Robin Williams well,
Which, credit to the remake, they let Will Smith do his own thing, and it kind of worked for him. People want to say, you can't replace Robin Williams. Well, they kind of can't. So, I mean, there's no point. Will Smith doing his own thing was the best option that they could have done.
Yeah, I will agree. I was like, oh man, if I have to watch Will Smith do a bad Robin Williams impression, this is going to be horrible. So I was really glad when it came out and people were like, no, he's just him. It's a very much a Will Smith role. And I was like, okay, I could deal with that better than a bad impression.
So, anything else you want to say about the general song of Friend Like Me?
I absolutely love how over the tops of kids' heads that a lot of the lyrics in this movie are. Just lyrically, both the stuff that Ashman left behind and the stuff that Tim Rice did, there's a lot of, like, vocabulary that I learned from this movie that, I didn't, what's a fakir? I think this was the first time I had heard, like, hors d'oeuvres used in because I was a little kid and hors d'oeuvres were not really a thing a poor kid in the South gets a lot. But so I think it was the first time I'd heard that. I think it was the first time I'd heard bona fide.
It was the first time I ever heard the term maitre d'.
Yeah, maitre d' is another one. And even when he talks about the legal language of there, when he's like,
quid pro quo, yeah.
Quid pro quo, it's like, oh my god. That was probably the first time I heard that one. Not the last, unfortunately. It was the first time I'd heard provisos, I think. Yeah. So I learned an intense amount of vocabulary from this. And I am a kid who, growing up, my favorite word as a little child was loquacious. Look it up if you don't know what that means. It suits me perfectly. But, I run into adults that have never heard that word in context, and I was at, like, 6. I was like, that's my favorite word. So...
you can do an entire podcast on the adventures of baby Kiki.
Oh my goodness, yeah, my childhood was bonkerdoodles, let me tell you.
So let's get into the rules of the genie. Now, originally, in Ashman's version, the genie had unlimited wishes. This movie, they had him do 3, which narratively makes more sense.
Yeah.
So
just unlimited wishes is a bit difficult for a tight narrative.
So the genie has his rules. He can't kill, he can't make people fall in love, and he can't raise the dead.
And again, when he says, I can't kill anybody, what does he do? He decapitates himself.
Yeah.
What is with this movie? Come on. Okay. But yeah, the interesting thing is everybody always says it as the genie can't bring people back from the dead. But in that line, he says,
I don't like doing it.
I don't like doing it. It never works out right.
Yeah. Well, he simply says, I can't bring people back from the dead. It's not a pretty picture. I don't like doing it. Which means somebody in these 10,000 years or whatever it was has wished a loved one or someone back from the dead, and it was not a pretty picture. It did not turn out. We're going to have freaking zombies up in the Arabian desert, and that's not the way that's not the way Genie wants to do it. So he's like, I'm not bringing anyone back from the dead anymore.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that it makes you wonder that if the genie is capable of, the reanimation of the dead, can he also kill people and make them fall in love, and it's just another ethically dubious thing he doesn't like doing?
I mean, he could harm people. I mean, you'd be surprised what you can live through.
Yeah. The genie code is a bit fuzzy on the subject of kneecaps. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Something in the remake they kind of say is there's a lot of gray area when it comes to the wishes. And I do want to put that out. There's one thing I did like in the remake is that they address that it is the way you word your wishes that is just as important as what the wish is.
So they make it more of a monkey paw situation.
Yes, if you could wish for world peace. Well, if depending on the genie's mood, the world peace is very vague. You could say, okay, everyone gets along and be friends, or, well, the only way peace on Earth can be is if humanity was all dead. Oh, good, yeah, now all humans are dead. World peace. So it all depends on the way you word your wish. Make sure you word your wishes very carefully, because it's up to interpretation.
Yeah.
Speaking of interpretation, Aladdin tricks the genie into getting him out of the cave without using a single wish. And that's brilliant on Aladdin. You were saying tricking people and doing things.
Yeah, I mean, he did the same thing with the carpet. Like, hey, I bet you're capable of this. And the carpet was like, absolutely. And he does the same thing to the genie.
Yeah. You can't get us out of here. It's like, and, Solon tries to mend fences between Jasmine and Jafar. Doesn't go well. That's all we can say about that. Oh, we do learn a trick that Iago can mimic people's voices.
Yeah, Iago is a perfect mimic when he wants to be, which does bring up the question of if he can mimic anybody's voice, why does he sound like Gilbert Gottfried?
That's his normal voice. It's just, like he's gonna talk. He's gonna be normal. That's his normal voice. Yeah. Like another mention, when I'm queen, I can get rid of you. And then Jafar says he could have us banished or beheaded. Ugh.
Yeah. I don't think that Iago gets as much credit for possibly being the real villain of this story. Iago is definitely the brains behind this operation.
Especially his plan right after this "I say to get beheaded" line, it's like,
yeah, but the idea of well, you should marry Jasmine, which shockingly never occurred to Jafar, is not the only plan Iago has. I mean, at several points in the movie, Jafar's like, well, I guess we're done for, and Iago's like, unless, so he is much smarter as a character than I think he gets credit for.
Which says a lot to what happens to Iago in the sequels.
Yeah.
And we'll get to the sequels when we get to them. And we will get to them eventually. I think that's all we can say about that, because, now Jafar's plan is to marry Jasmine, and that's how he's going to become the Sultan. Since he doesn't So, and then we finally get the, Aladdin and Genie, they're out of the cave. But Aladdin, good guy that he is, has no idea what he wants to wish for. So he asks the Genie, what do you want to wish for? And Genie is genuinely shocked. No one has ever asked him what he ever wanted to wish for. And, the freedom thing. This is where we get the, another, like you said, another issue of someone feeling trapped in their life.
And but in this case, it is just absolutely heartbreaking. Like, you feel bad for Aladdin, but other than the, extreme poverty and occasional starvation thing, Aladdin seems to be enjoying his life enough. Jasmine, a little less, but you're also a little bit like, hey, Chica, it could be worse,
Yeah.
You don't quite feel as sorry for the princess in the Golden Palace. But Genie, man, and Robin's delivery of that just breaks your freaking heart.
I just got here, Aladdin describes Jasmine, he's got it bad.
Yeah.
The hair, the eyes, it's like, dude, you got it bad. You've known this girl an hour at most, but you are into this girl like nobody's business.
You need Kristoff from Frozen to show up and be like, dude, you just met this girl. Yes. But every Disney movie, it would be better with the addition of Kristoff.
The first wish to become a prince, because in his mind, that is the only way he can see Jasmine ever again. He has to be a prince.
Yeah.
So it's, again, the wording of the wish is important, because as in the remake, the Genie can just make a prince. So snap his fingers and a prince appears. But, Aladdin wishes for himself to become a prince.
Yeah.
And that whole scene is beautiful of the comedic timing of Robin Williams in the whole, making it into a game show almost. Becoming the fashion consultant, as it were. Becoming the whole thing is just beautiful. And
strangely, like, the kind of weird quote from this movie when we were kids was, I remember that everybody went around going like, ooh, camels, careful, they spit. Which is such a kind of throwaway, like, of all the stuff he says in the movie, that is by far not even close to the funniest. But that was the thing that little kids were quoting.
Because it's spitting, and spitting is funny. It's kids spitting. And then Naboo becoming the elephant. Poor Abu.
Yeah.
Why did Abu have to become an elephant? He could just he just conjured up an elephant, but...
Yeah, that's the thing, is, like, he conjured up, like, 700 actual humans to march in that parade.
Yeah.
You're telling me he had to use Abu as the bassist for the elephant?
This is some fairy godmother stuff here.
Yeah.
What else?
It makes me wonder, like, were they just going through the desert and he was like, ooh, a lizard. You get to be a handmaiden now. Like, I just wonder if, like, when that parade was over, Agrabah was just infested with random animals that they didn't know where they came from.
Has he got a zoo? I'm
Agrabah
telling you.
has the weird legend of the scorpion plague that came after Prince Ali.
Prince Ali cursed the kingdom. Jafar hypnotizing Sultan into wedding Jasmine. I love how, like, he stops the hypnosis for that second and says, but you're so old.
I actually like how difficult this hypnosis is for Jafar. We see that the Sultan is a good-natured person, so Jafar just going, like, trust me, seems to be within the character of the Sultan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's a very easy hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
But when Jafar tries something that is very against the Sultan knows that Jasmine absolutely would not want to marry Jafar.
Mm-hmm.
And so his brain fights against it, which I love.
And it almost works until Make Way for Prince Ali.
Yeah.
Love this song, love the whole animated thing on this. And again, Robin Williams makes this song. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and once again, this is another, like, extremely lyrically complex and rhythmically tight song.
And keep in mind, Robin Williams is also doing impressions while singing the song with those lyrics.
Yeah. And being able to, like, do that and sing at the same time is kind of its own particular talent.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the way that, you know, singing vocals works slightly different from speaking voice. Not a lot of actors can pull that off. Which is, so I don't think Robin Williams gets enough credit for one, I mean, his singing voice is actually not bad. You know, for stunt casting, this is probably one of the better options there.
Well, it's not the first time Robin Williams has sung in a movie. He was in Popeye.
Well, true. But the less said about that movie, the better, maybe.
Technically, it's a Disney movie.
Yeah, don't make me go through that.
The only other note I have on here is we see the three brothel girls back. Now they're in love with Ali because he has money.
Yeah, they're very akin to the three sisters or whatever in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were supposed to be sisters or what, but they're, yeah.
Maybe it's like what you said, Disney only knows how to draw one kind of face.
Yeah, all Disney women kind of look like they should be related.
Let's get to Ali getting into the palace. Sultan's very impressed with Ali's entrance. Jafar clearly doesn't like it because now he has competition. I do like he constantly calls him Prince Abubu. Just purposely getting his name wrong.
You know what I always wondered, and I've never had this confirmed or denied, but when I was a little kid and I first heard his name is Prince Ali Ababwa, I always thought they were making fun of Barbara Walters. Was I the only one that thought that? Because it was so obvious to me as a kid, because at the time on Saturday Night Live, whenever they would do a Barbara Walters sketch, that was the thing of like, hello, I'm Baba Wawa. Like, that was always, so the second I heard Prince Ababwa, you know, I was like, they're making fun of that.
I never got it.
A silly name. So, but yeah, I've never really found anybody else that kind of thought that, so I may be alone in that. If you're listening and you also thought that, please let me know, because I feel so alone in this. But yeah, a boo-boo is very funny, and it's always the way Jonathan Freeman delivers that line every single time. It's very pointed in the fact of like, I know your name, dude, but I'm getting it wrong because I hate you. Because he always pauses a little bit before he says that, like, oh, I'm sorry, Prince Abubu. It's like it's always a little over enunciated. So,
Sultan riding the carpet. Oh, poor carpet. He's exhausted after the whole thing.
but it's such an adorable scene,
Yeah.
and it's exactly what I would do if there was a magic carpet. Because I mean, you've seen my reaction to animals, and literally any animal.
Yes.
Like, I do not discriminate. I'm not like a cat person or a dog person or whatever.
This is not limited to actual animals, but people in fur costumes.
Yeah, that too. I will have an adorable reaction to somebody dressed up at a convention. But yeah, if you ever hear in the news that I was like mauled to death by a bear or whatever, do not blame that bear, because I guarantee you I ran toward it trying to snuggle it. Like, that's gonna be my fault. Like, I have absolutely told everyone in my life, like, if an animal is the reason I die, you better, like, treat that animal like royalty, because that is 100% my fault.
We're not getting a Harambe situation in here, are we?
No. I will come back and haunt you if you hurt that animal, because I guarantee you it will be because I did something absolutely ridiculous and ill-advised. I would definitely be like, oh my god, Raja, I'm gonna give you belly scritches. Like, that would be me coming across like any animal on the planet,
Oh, let's unfortunately have to bring this down, because we have menfolk talking about a woman's life. Jasmine's not happy about that. No, she's not.
Nor should she be. And I like that 2 of the 3 characters are immediately like, oh my god, you're right.
Yeah.
The Sultan and Aladdin are immediately like, wow, we were unthinking jerks. And Jafar's like, shut up. I'll tell you what to do with your life if I want. So I loved the animation on that.
Just that whole like, oh, like that whole like sheepish emotion that Aladdin had, like, oh crap, I screwed up already.
Yeah.
Like, not even 5 minutes and I've already screwed this up with this girl I like.
Yeah, Aladdin is the prince of messing up introductions, because he does not do well in the first like 4 times he tries to talk to Jasmine.
So Genie gives some advice to Aladdin. Tell her the truth. Tell her everything. She will understand. And yeah, Aladdin's not going to do that.
Yeah, the true moral of this story, like, if this movie has any sort of clear moral, it is that, like, money and wishes and titles and stuff, they aren't going to solve your problem. The only thing that's going to help is following whatever truth you have.
Be yourself and just be honest.
Yeah.
And in a way of not telling the truth, Aladdin is kind of undermining Jasmine, like thinking of Jasmine a fool. Like, she won't love the real me; she has to love this character I'm portraying.
In a way, I do wonder how much of that is his idea of Jasmine's character, and how much is just another, this is society, and all, because it is the law.
Yeah.
She has to marry a prince. And even the Sultan questions it when Jafar's like, I'm going to marry your daughter. And he's like, but the law is that she has to marry a prince, So I'm not sure that it necessarily reflects on what Aladdin thinks of Jasmine as a person. But maybe that he knows that Jasmine is kind of equally trapped by that.
Yeah. So Aladdin goes to talk to Jasmine. Doesn't go well at first, because, he's still trying to be Mr. Cool Prince Ali. I'm gonna, just wait till she meets me kind of deal.
Yeah, he's become Prince Ahmed.
Yeah. And then, he almost gets eaten by Raja. In another scene that had to get edited when the movie went to video, because Aladdin clearly saying, good kitty, nice kitty down, but apparently people thought Aladdin was saying something else that was very offensive, like when all good kids take off their clothes or something like that.
Yeah, he said originally like good tiger, go away now, or something like that. And for some reason, somebody came up with the idea that he was saying good teenagers, take off your clothes or something. Which, as is usual with these kind of like, my child's toy said something demonic or whatever, it's like, I don't know what you're hearing, but it is not from the same universe the rest of us are living in.
So yeah, they did have to redub that for the home video release, and that's what's on Disney Plus and all the DVDs and re-releases. That redub is there.
Yeah.
So Jasmine actually recognizes Aladdin because he takes his turban off and sees that hair.
Yeah.
And
Aladdin's got good hair. I mean,
for a poor boy.
Yeah, for a poor boy, he can afford a lot of conditioner, is all I'm saying.
One thing I do like in this one is that every time Aladdin lies, the feather on his turban falls.
Yeah.
Like, it's that like he is flying. Like, I don't know if that's maybe a genie thing. Like, I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah. Well, we already know that Genie is into Pinocchio.
Yeah.
By this point, so maybe that's his like Pinocchio's nose growing kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I like that the ethical problem they give to Aladdin is not that he's a thief. It's that he is a liar in a very specific situation. They don't really ding him for any of the lies he tells to the guards, or anything, because it's survival against a rather brutal system. Yeah, he lies to save Jasmine. We're okay with that. He lies to save himself from, like overbearing punishment. We're okay with that. But when he lies to Jasmine, when he lies to the genie, when he that's when the movie really says, like, okay, you're becoming an ethically dubious character and you need to stop.
Don't lie to your loved ones, kids.
Yeah.
So, this is where we kind of get around about to get us to a whole new world. And Aladdin once again says, jump off the balcony. I love that line, and he actually does it. Of course, the carpet is there. Jasmine doesn't know the carpet is there.
Yeah.
Which is, again, a beautiful reaction shot. And he just pops
up. And Jasmine doesn't know he has the carpet at that point.
Yeah, she wasn't there
for any of that other stuff.
So he pops like, wait, what was that? Oh, how are you doing that, magic carpet? And of course, Aladdin gives himself away by saying, "Do you trust me again?"
Yeah.
And just Jasmine at that moment just like, oh, you're him. I know you're him. And just her look, the way she said yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Little character moments, I like it.
Yeah, so it gets us to a whole new world, the beautiful song, the whole sequence.
This is really where Tim Rice comes into the Disney universe.
Yeah.
This one was, according to Alan Menken, he and Howard Ashman had talked about what this song needed to do and needed to be. But there were no lyrics on paper, I don't think. So this one is entirely credited to Tim Rice. And honestly, if you listen to it, you can tell. Lyrically, it is so different from Ashman's style. And this is very much kind of the first Disney pop number.
Yep. And this was the one they play over the credits with the singers.
Yeah, but honestly, even without that kind of reworking at the end, this is just straight up a pop number, really. Even in the context of the movie. So it's still a little Broadway, but this is very much more pop. And remember the stuff that Tim Rice did with with Weber was the more rock and pop influenced kind of stuff that Weber did. So, you know, Evita had a little bit more, you know, pop and rock influence, you know, things like that. So
yeah, something that would really come into fruition in Lion King.
Yeah, I mean, Lion King is really when everybody kind of noticed it, but this one is where they started turning that corner.
So I get you said there was a different place where we have the shot, and I assume it's Aladdin and Jasmine on the carpet.
Yeah, when they're coming up through the clouds.
Yes.
That kind of overhead shot as they're approaching the camera, and you can see the city, you know, below them. That they that shot gets used for almost everything. So if I had to call one thing the shot from this movie, I would choose that one first. But you're right that the lamp shot does get used a lot.
Yeah, and when Aladdin says, "I can show you the world," he means it, as they are literally going all over the world. They go to Egypt, they go to China.
Yeah. The fact that they end up in China is an interesting throwback to the original story.
Yep.
Because the original story is said to take place in China. There is some kind of literary debate, though, because it seems that saying things took place in China was kind of a storytelling metaphor at the time that is very analogous to this took place really, really far away. You've never been there. Don't worry about it.
Poor Sphinx.
Poor Sphinx.
It's a cheap gag, but it's still a funny gag in this movie. And at the end of the song, Jasmine got you, Aladdin. You're busted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame Abu couldn't be here, and and I love the carpet being like, idiot, you're giving away the game. You're like, and then the carpet is like basically doing the same thing the genie did, although silently, which is like, tell her the truth. Do that thing.
He's asking for the truth, and I posted this on my Facebook. Is just Jasmine's death stare.
Yeah, the way they animated Jasmine's eyes.
And
she has the most expressive eyes of probably anyone in Disney history.
And how small they made her lips in that one shot.
Yeah.
It's like she's had enough of this. She's done. I guess, like I always say, you messed up when your girl gives you the death stare. So Aladdin tries to lie back into Jasmine's good side, and damn it, she falls for it.
Yeah.
I think it's more that she wants to fall for it. Like, she wants to believe that this lie is real.
Well, and also, he's using her story against her.
Yeah.
I mean, because she was pretending not to be a princess. So when he's like, sometimes I sneak out of the palace because it's stuffy in there and I don't like it and everything. You're being a little manipulative, dude. You are crossing a line here, definitely. Please stop. This is a little different from when he manipulates the carpet or the genie by being like, I bet you can do this. Because in the end, it is their choice to take that bet.
Yeah.
This is a very kind of disgustingly manipulative thing. I think this is when Aladdin's personality really does take a turn for the worst.
Yeah, this is, again, to go to the remake, they have, the genie uses the phrase, that guy. Like, you don't want to become that guy. And in this scene, even in both the remake and this movie, Aladdin is slowly becoming that guy. At least, but anyway, things turn out well as they have the goodnight kiss, which probably would have ended up really bad if the carpet hadn't boosted Aladdin at the end. So Aladdin's on cloud 9 this whole point after the kiss. He's yes, it's working. Everything's going his way until the guards get him. Poor Prince Boo Boo. He's out of here.
Yeah, Jafar is no longer playing subtly. He's just like, nope, I'm the bad guy. Have fun in jail. Or not in jail.
Sleep with the fishes. Sleep with the fish,
Yeah.
Ollie. Luckily, he has a lamp on him. So he can get the genie out, but genie can't cheat this time. This one counts as a wish, and yeah.
I mean, if Aladdin was conscious, I'm very certain that would have been his wish, so I'm not saying that Genie misread the situation necessarily.
Even, again, I gotta go back to the remake. They make this a much more difficult production than it needed to be, because Aladdin, of course, unconscious underwater. The genie wants to help him, but he can't help him without making a wish. So he pulls out like a contract for Aladdin to sign, that he makes Aladdin sign, saying this is counts as an official wish. And that whole scene is a lot more difficult than it made it out to be. That this scene is just very simple in that. One nod, done.
Yeah.
And as far as concerned, Aladdin or Ali is dead. So yeah. So
and it's not by beheading this time.
No, it's by drowning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he doesn't even make a lie like, nope, Prince Ali's gone. He never, he never said, oh, he put on. He could have been a pun out of it, saying, oh, he went on his ship and sailed away.
Yeah.
But so
no, it's just like he's gone. He left.
Yeah, he got what he wanted. And he's gone. More hypnosis, saying, Sultan says you're gonna marry Jafar now. This is how it is. But Ali lives, breaks the snake staff, and the jig is up for Jafar. But he also gives up the game again because Jafar sees that he has a lamp. It's in his turban on his belt, but he could see that the lamp is there. Yep. But forget all of that because Jasmine has chosen a husband. Ali is going to be the next Sultan. Uh-oh. He did not think this through. He did not think it would go this far.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think of all wish stories, is that there's always a moral of be careful it doesn't go too far.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. And it wasn't so much what he wished for, but that he left. He didn't just use the prince wish to get in the door.
Yeah.
He kept it going. To the point of telling Genie, I can't let you go. I can't keep my promise.
Yeah, that's...
Because I need you, And
again, more excellent acting from Robin Williams in that scene.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if your heart does not break for Genie, you don't have one. It's just so... Ugh.
Even the way he says master as he goes back into the lamp. Like a very disgusting, you disappoint me, boy.
Yeah.
So Jafar sends Iago to get the lamp, and Iago, once again, using his mimic technique to get Aladdin out of that room.
Yeah, it's a very interesting plot point that I'm kind of fascinated it didn't get used more.
Yeah, it really doesn't get used in the sequels. It doesn't really get used in the TV show.
I am not going to lie, it had been so long since I did a full rewatch of Aladdin that I had legitimately forgot that was in there. Like, if you'd have asked me, can Iago perfectly mimic voices, I would have been like, no, that's ridiculous. He sounds like Gilbert Gottfried. But, yeah, that's actually a plot point that I forgot.
Yeah, and doing a perfect impression of Jafar as well. Excellent work, Iago. On a scale of 1 to 10, you are an 11.
Yeah, that kind of Iago pretending to be Jafar is one of my favorite little bits.
Including the tail feather on his head.
Yeah, because everyone kind of sees whatever they want to see in Jafar.
Mm-hmm.
The Sultan needs a trusted advisor, so Jafar is the trusted advisor. Iago just needs, a buddy to tell him he's doing okay and that he's a smart bird and a pretty bird. It's like, okay. And Jafar is none of those things. You know immediately as soon as Iago's getting into that, you're like, dude, you're setting yourself up for failure. What are you doing? Jafar is not that guy.
Yeah, and the engagement is announced. The next Sultan, Prince Ali, and the way they have Aladdin all nervous as he's going out into the people to be announced as the future husband, the next Sultan, is like, oh boy, it's just the crap keep getting piled up on this situation.
Yeah, see what happens, kids, when you don't tell the truth? You become ruler of a kingdom. I'm not sure that's the best moral of the story, but yeah, sir, let's go for it.
I think it's more of you end up in over your head.
Yeah.
And when Jafar releases the genie to make his first wish, and he wishes to be the Sultan. The way they animated the genie with the glowing eyes and the shadows on him is just.
Well, this is the one time that a character gets swole in this movie, because Genie is suddenly buff. But I do like the idea of that the genie is forced by his position to be a reflection of whoever is in control of the lamp.
Yeah.
He does have a little bit of his own, he can still root for Aladdin, he can still tell Aladdin he's sorry, but he is very much tied into, nope, gotta be evil genie now because Jafar is a jerk.
I got a new master now, so he has to reflect his master.
Yeah.
And now that he's the Sultan, Jafar wants the old Sultan wants Jasmine to bow to him, and good to the Sultan, he almost does it. I did not notice that till this rewatch.
Yeah, the fact that the Sultan, he's like, you will bow to a Sultan, and Sultan's like, yep, that's good enough for me. And then Jasmine's like, we will never bow to you, and the Sultan's like, oh yeah, that probably should have been my first thought.
Second wish, powerful sorcerer, and we get our villain song, quote, which is a reprise of Prince Ali, which Jafar deserved a proper song.
Yeah, but there is the song that it's up on Disney Plus now if you have it. There is a deleted song. They did an animatic for it and then cut it after that stage. It is called My Finest Hour. Did you watch this animatic and song?
I did, and I'm familiar with at least 2 more villain songs that were written for Jonathan Freeman.
Yeah, but My Finest Hour is definitely not it. It is bad.
This is definitely.
I'm sorry. It's awful.
This is definitely back in the unlimited wishes portion of the script, because he was using wishes and to get this. No, that was a different one. He's actually using his sorcerer powers to.
Yeah, he's very much in his sorcerer mode in My Finest Hour, and most of the lyrics of that song are actually just dialogue in the final version.
Yes, it's more. It's mostly the same dialogue that ripped from this movie.
Yeah, and I don't know what I can say about it other than it's just really bad. If they'd have left that in, it would have dragged the whole pacing of the movie down. When I watched it, I thought, this is not. You can tell that it was like probably a first draft of Ashman's that they kept around and nobody really messed with it much. And maybe it was from an earlier version of the script or something. I don't know. But it was not good.
There was another song in this scene. It was called Humiliate the Boy, which was also during the...
That was definitely an Ashman song. That was one of the last ones that Ashman wrote.
Yeah, and that was during the Unlimited Wishes portion of the script, where he was constantly using wishes to humiliate Aladdin. And better song, but it just doesn't fit in the final film.
Yeah.
So to get... Now, granted, Jafar would get a proper villain song in the sequel, but for this person, we get this reprise, which in a way it works, because it's using Ali's own hubris against him in a way. His own, I'm using your song to torture you.
Yeah, and it's a shame that Jonathan Freeman didn't get to show off his voice more.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that at least the one that they've got up on Disney Plus. I'm really glad that version did not end up in the movie.
So Al's back to being a street rat, just like that. It's all Con's over. It's over. And ends of the Earth, the Arctic.
Yeah, this is where the palace is definitely 3D animated, at least part of it. Is that, he sticks him in the tower, turns the tower into a rocket. That part is very much, you can tell that switches over to CG.
And Jonathan Freeman's little scream as he does it.
Whoopee! Yeah.
And the laugh. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, somebody was having fun in the booth that day.
One thing I never noticed but it did in this rewatch was when the rocket lands and it's all landing in the Arctic, there's this big flash and you get to see Aladdin in the snow. It's like they couldn't find a way to transition from the CG back to the 2D, so they said, all right, let's put a little white flash there and no one will notice.
Yeah.
For a desert boy, Aladdin doesn't seem to be all bothered by the cold.
Maybe he is secretly related to Elsa.
Maybe. Abu is, though, because he's a monkey, and monkeys don't really survive in the cold.
No, not particularly.
So they escape, they get the carpet back, they do a little clever escape from the rolling tower, and back to Agrabah.
Yeah, Buster Keaton's move, which is really, nice callback to Buster Keaton there. Yeah.
And just the animation on Abu afterwards, like, yeah, we made it. Oh.
Yeah, Abu is like, yeah, you may have made it. I had a heart attack.
You might want to wash your hair a little bit, Aladdin, before we get back to Agrabah.
Yeah.
So back in Agrabah, Sultan is just having fun. Sultan Jafar is having fun humiliating the former Sultan here, and has Jasmine as a servant girl. That's humiliation right there.
Yeah, this is kind of Jasmine's slave Leia scene.
Yeah. And the final wish to fall in love with him, and the Ghost Genie is trying to say, "Oh, there's rules. I can't make you do that." And Jafar is not having that. He doesn't want to care about the rules. Just make it happen. And upon seeing that Aladdin is back, Jasmine just plays along. And the way that she's animated in that scene is just borderline not really Disney, I would say. I gotta say here, I have it in my notes, the way Jasmine's face animates when she says the word twisted, I just love the way that looks.
Yeah, it's again, whoever the team that was animating Jasmine's face was just top notch. That was like top tier Disney talent right there.
Unfortunately, the distraction fails because of the reflection in the crown. Oh boy, doesn't go well. Not to mention the fact that Iago knocks over a bowl while he's scuffling with the Boo.
Which leads Jasmine to go all in on this bit, as she did before, and kiss Jafar. Which disgusts everybody, including Iago, which I love. I love Iago's like, I did not sign up for this. This is the most disturbing thing. Yeah.
But, Aladdin just freezes when he sees that. It's like, that was your moment, dude. You could have just jumped at, shocked.
Yeah, if he had not kind of been so disgusted, somebody could have capitalized on that moment, made it worth it.
And Jafar takes out everybody in spectacular fashion, complete with puns.
Yeah.
Your time's running out. Don't toy with me. You're unraveling,
yeah, your plan's unraveling, I think is what he says.
Yeah. And who knew Jafar was so good at puns?
Is anybody good at puns, though? Can you use the word good in relation to a pun? I don't really think so.
The transformation into a snake. Let's go to there. That was, again, another beautiful animation there.
Yeah, that was super impressive. The way he turns the fire into the lower parts of him, and everything.
And the fact that he animated him to move exactly like a snake would.
Yeah, that was kind of legitimately, I'm not going to say scary, but it might have been for some kids. It wasn't for me. But that was legitimately kind of like, ooh, when you were a kid.
Yeah, the fact that straight up, he could have moved like a cartoon snake, but they made him move like an actual living snake. Just imagine, the animators having to have an actual snake attack something, and they have to draw it like that,
part of me wants to say that they would have watched a lot of like nature footage of cobras or whatever, but this is Disney we're talking about.
They
This
would
is
have
the
that
same group that brought an actual group of deer into the studio for
This is
the
a-
animators
this is
of
a group
Bambi.
this is a group who brought an
So,
actual living lion into the
yeah,
studio for The Lion King and an actual elephant in for Dumbo.
yeah. So they probably just brought in like a whole bunch of cobras and like fed mice to them in front of the animators.
Mickey's not gonna like that.
Yeah.
And again, another use of Aladdin's manipulation. He tricks Jafar by using his own ego.
Yeah.
It's like
You are not the most powerful being on Earth. And I think the genie doesn't realize what he's doing at first.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, why are you bringing me into this? My life is already bad enough.
So Jafar makes the wish to become a genie, which, again, one change for the remake I do love is one of the recurring themes in the movie is Jafar wanting to be powerful. One phrase that he says a lot in the movie is, "You're either the most powerful man in the room, or you're nothing." And Aladdin turning that around, saying, "The genie's more powerful than you. As you always say, you're the most powerful man, or you're nothing." So Jafar wishes in the remake to become the most powerful being in the universe. And like I said before, it's all how you word your wishes. That's a very vague wish. That's a lot of gray area in that wish, and the genie interprets that wish as negatively as possible to trick Jafar. And that's how he turns him into the genie, which makes a lot more sense in the remake, and I do like that they went in that direction.
Yeah, and it kind of gives Genie a little more agency than he was able to get in the animated, I think.
And at least in the animated one, it makes Jafar out to be an idiot because he gets called Genie a slave before wishing to become a genie himself.
Yeah, I think that he may have thought that, like, genie is a thing you are, but just this genie ended up a slave somehow. So maybe he was like, maybe there's a version of this where that doesn't come along with it. I think there's some interesting wiggle room in that maybe the genie put that same kind of curse on him, because we don't actually know how the genie ended up as a slave. Is that just the natural state when a genie is created? Or was Genie just like, he was just bopping around being himself and somebody tricked him or cursed him or used magic to entrap him? We don't really know.
And that whole scene is perfectly, beautifully animated when the snake becomes the genie. And especially when Jafar...
Once again, swole genie. So Jafar's got,
Which, it's a great contrast, because Jafar was very lanky and skinny throughout the whole movie, and then becomes buff when he becomes the genie. Genies are just buff, I guess.
I don't know, because there's some, weird ideas of masculinity, because the only time the genie... any version of a genie is seen as buff is when they're talking about how powerful they are.
Yeah.
When Jafar is like, I've got the genie, now I'm powerful, the genie behind him is now buff. Mm-hmm. But in the two times where a genie talks about phenomenal cosmic power, they are also suddenly buff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it does seem that the genie's kind of natural state that he wants to be in is a kind of schlubby, chubby kind of goofy dude. So I don't know.
I have my notes here. The part where Jafar says the universe is mine to command, to control. That's just beautifully animated itself. Him just swirling all these little planets around.
Yeah.
Which he likely in this time frame would not know exists, but
Yeah, the interesting. Well, I don't know. The Arabic world was kind of the ones that led astronomy for so long, so they would have known more about it than almost anywhere else on the planet at that time.
Yeah.
But we skipped over my favorite genie line
Mm.
during the battle.
Mm.
When, Hal, he's our man, and then Jafar says,
You stay
no,
out of this.
yeah, you stay out of this, you work for me or whatever, and he's like, Jafar, if he can't do it, great. I loved that bit.
Oh, so yeah, Jafar's a genie now, and everything that goes with it. So the wrist clamps get on him. He's going back into the lamp.
And, yeah, his own evil lamp, which I find kind of funny. And poor Iago.
How is Iago fitting in this lamp?
The power of the genie? I don't know.
He's going right into that spout. He should not fit in there.
Yeah. Magic.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I felt for Iago. I was like, Iago didn't deserve that. But watching it back as an adult, Iago totally deserved that. Because I really did not clock as a kid how much of this evil plan was Iago's doing.
Which,
so yeah,
again,
Iago fine. Yeah.
Again, says a lot about Iago for what happens to him in the sequels.
Yeah.
So Jafar's gone, but not dead. Again, there are 2 more movies of this, so yeah, he'll be back.
Yeah, one of the few Disney villains that doesn't die at the end of it.
Yeah.
So.
But he's still punished. I mean, even if there wasn't the sequels, he's still got his comeuppance. He just didn't die.
Yeah, 10,000 years in a cave of wonder, man.
So shame Jasmine can't marry Aladdin because he's not a prince. 1 wish left, and Aladdin, good guy that he is, wishes the genie free. He promised him. If he had freedom earlier in the movie, we wouldn't have what we've had so far. It would have been a much shorter movie.
Yeah.
So, and good guy in Aladdin, but here's my thing. Give the lamp to Jasmine. Have her wish you to be a prince again. Then to free the genie.
I wish Aladdin was a prince. Yeah.
Or give it to the Sultan to make some wishes. You have, 3 wishes for each master. You have some options here.
Yeah.
That's why not? Just give. But what's done is done. It's the genie is free in a very beautifully animated sequence, especially when the smoke trail becomes legs. The shackles, the animation when the shackles come off him.
Yeah.
He's. Go ahead.
This is the one where he does like the everybody get together for the family Disney photo.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that he's got the Hawaiian shirt
with
and
the goofy
hat.
hat.
Yeah.
And to be fair, that's pretty much what Robin Williams wears, is the Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
So, the scene where you'll always be a prince to me and hugs him and crying, it's like beautiful. It still gets me to this day.
Yeah.
And was enough for the Sultan to say, all right, you've proven yourself. You are a good man of good character. I'm going to change the law. The princess can marry whoever she wants.
Which, this is the only time where I'm like, okay, the Sultan's kind of a jerk. And is it that he's a jerk or that he's kind of dim? I don't know. But your daughter has already told you she wants self-determination in her own life. You could have theoretically changed the law this whole time, and you wait until there's a guy that she wants to marry that has finally proven him. I mean, really? I don't know. It seems less magnanimous.
Yeah, he could have changed his mind about this whole law an hour ago, and we wouldn't have a movie.
Yeah, exactly. This movie should have never happened. If people had acted sensibly and kindly, this movie would have never happened.
20 minutes into this movie, I'm going to change the law. Oh, by the way, this kid you like, okay, you can marry him. All right, done. Movie's done in 30 minutes. But, got to make a full movie. So, the genie is off. He's free. He's gone off. He's going to live his life. He's going to travel the world. And Jasmine and Aladdin, I want to say they get married here, but that's for the sequel.
Yeah, they're just going to be together.
Yeah.
Happily ever after.
Happily ever after, the end. One last fourth wall break as Genie lifts the animation frame, says "Make you look," and again, like
and
yeah.
One thing about that is that they put it at the beginning of the credits, like right before the credits in this. In the original theatrical cut, that was a post-credit sequence.
I believe they moved it to for the VHS, cause
but which is fine. But as a kid, I've said this before. I stay all the way through the credits of any movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if there's a post-credit sequence or not. And that started when I was a kid. I wanted so much movie. Like, once I was introduced to the full concept of seeing a movie in the theater, I did not want to leave until they kicked me out. So I would stay and read all the names in the credits, even though I didn't know what half of them meant, and all that kind of stuff. It's one of the ways that I learned about filmmaking early on. Is I would just go like, "What does this person do? What does that title mean?" And but so I was already doing that in '92 when I saw Aladdin, and we never expected, because post-credit scenes weren't a thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden at the end of the movie, my father and I are the only ones in the theater, and all of a sudden Genie comes back and does another little thing, and we're like, we're special. We're the only people that got to see this thing. And there wasn't the internet at the time to really, I mean, there was, but not in everybody's lives, and certainly nobody in my town had internet at the time.
That was back in the newsletter days.
Yeah, and so there wasn't really like a way to hear about it unless you happened to have like a friend at the theater who was cleaning up the theater, and they were like, "Oh, hey, you should stay through the credits" or something. So that was really, that introduced me to the idea of the post-credit scene. And it's fascinating now that the idea of the post-credit scene is so heavily tied to Marvel.
Yeah.
Which is now Disney owned.
Yeah.
So it is kind of that was a cool thing to me. And yeah, but now it's at the beginning of the credits. Although even on Disney Plus, if you go all the way through the end of the credits and listen to the final thing, there is an audio post-credits stinger now on Disney Plus.
I have to go back and rewatch that, man.
Yeah, no, because when I saw that and I was like, oh, they moved it to the front of the credits, I kind of skipped ahead to the end of the credits to see if there was anything else, and there was. Over the final Disney logo, you can hear Genie, riffing on something. Which,
again, it's kind of hard because Disney Plus does the Netflix thing as soon as the credits start. They kind of, you're gonna watch, if you like this one, you'll like this, and make the credits really small. And yeah,
I had to maximize the screen again to be like, no, Disney, I want to watch the credits. Since I've been watching so much Disney Plus, I discovered last night that when I go into my browser and type the letter D, it automatically goes, "You're going to Disney Plus, aren't you?" Like, it completely autocorrects my Disney Plus account just from the letter D, which I find hilarious. So I never have to type more than one letter into the browser to get to Disney Plus.
So yeah, that was Aladdin. And the question is, does it hold up? To me, yes.
To me, not as much.
Not as much.
Again, don't freaking at me, okay? But, or do, because we like hearing from people on our social media. But, to me, this one was not as fun a rewatch as Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. And it might just be that I was not as attached to Aladdin as a kid. It was a movie I enjoyed. It was a movie that, I knew all of the lines to the songs because I know all the lines to every song I've ever heard, pretty much. But there were a lot more rough edges to this one.
And I think a lot of it had to do with Ashman dying, and they have to scramble to try to save this movie.
Yeah, it's not as tight of a story. While I do like a lot of the character bits, there doesn't appear as clear a through line as Little Mermaid, and I think it's because they kind of changed the moral of the movie halfway through as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really cement as well as it should. Also, this is just so wildly different in tone. Disney, I'm not saying that Disney movies didn't have comedy in them before.
Mm-hmm.
But immediately from the second you see the vendor at the beginning of the movie, it is immediately fourth wall break, joke after modern reference. I mean, on your definition of modern, considering half of them are like, hey kids, remember this, 1930s film actor you've never heard of? No, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do an impression of him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It just, this one did not strike the same nostalgia chord for me as the other two did.
Oh, okay. So fair enough.
It's still a great movie. I still love it desperately. If you ask me if I want to sit down and watch Aladdin, I will absolutely say yes. But I didn't catch feels from it like I did. I wasn't 12 or whatever again.
So at this point, officially, the episode is over. But there is one thing we do need to talk about. So, dear listener, if you had one thing that you had out of this episode, thank you for listening to us. But there is one thing we do need to talk about, and that is the treatment of Robin Williams by Disney after the movie.
Yeah.
And I think you can describe that better than I can. There's documentaries. There's a whole documentary on YouTube by Lindsay Ellis about it. But why don't you go through the cliff notes of all of that?
Yeah, as always, rewatching the magic really, really tells you go watch Lindsay Ellis, please. I mean, she's amazing.
Yeah. Can we get her on the show?
I would love that. So, yeah, this is marked as the first real instance of what we think of as stunt casting.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they've had celebrities, Bob Newhart and Mickey Rooney and
Buddy Hackett, and Little Mermaid. We talked about that, but they didn't sell the movie on come see Buddy Hackett, come see Angela Lansbury, come see, they were people who were known, celebrities already, but they weren't the selling point of the movie. Aladdin made come see Robin Williams as an animated character the selling point of this film.
To be fair, go ahead.
Yeah, and the problem with it is that was the one thing that was basically in Robin Williams' contract when he signed with Disney, is that you can't do that. He was signing on to the project kind of as a labor of love. Mm-hmm. He had just recently done a different animated film.
Ferngully, we can say it.
Ferngully, yeah. Not a Disney film. Mm-hmm. Actually, it probably is now. It's probably in the Disney catalog. Wasn't that a Fox film? Wouldn't that have been in the merger?
That I don't know about, but
yeah. Anyway, possibly a Disney property now. Definitely not a Disney property then. That was a rival studio and rival animation teams. And Robin Williams' contract said that his name couldn't be bigger than the rest of the cast if they listed the cast.
And his character couldn't be bigger, yeah.
His character couldn't be bigger, and I think it was something he can only be in 10% of the marketing or something like that. There was an actual statistical number attached to that.
And I just looked it up, and yes, this movie was owned by 20th Century Fox, so yes, Disney owns this movie now.
Yeah, so now Disney owns Ferngully, but at the time it was a thing, and Robin Williams was already under contract that they were going to use his name to promote Ferngully, so he didn't want he didn't want his career to be like, hey, Robin Williams is the animation guy now.
Yeah.
He resisted doing the movie. They actually had to do an animatic of one of his stand-up routines with the genie being animated. And they used a stand-up routine where he talks about having schizophrenia, and they animated the genie with multiple heads talking to himself. And it convinced the studio to approach Robin Williams, and they were like, hey, do you want to play a genie? And he was like, no, definitely not. I've done the animation thing. I am out. And then they sent him the animatic, and he thought it was so hilarious that he was like, okay, I'll do this, but I kind of want to be as under the radar as I can be. And somebody at Disney, and I don't know who, I don't know if it was Katzenberg, I don't know if it was Eisner, I don't know whose fault this is off the top of my head, but somebody at Disney went, no, we've got Robin Williams. We are going to sell this movie entirely as a Robin Williams vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did. And Robin Williams sued them, and like there was a legal thing. I think eventually they settled and it got dropped. Again, Lindsay Ellis did the research a little bit more.
There was a lot of bad blood here, to the point where Robin Williams did not come back for the sequel. Dan Castellaneta was recasted as the genie in that one, and we'll probably talk more about that when we get to Return of Jafar eventually. But he did come back for the third movie, so fences were mended by then.
Yeah, but this was, I mean, Robin Williams, by all accounts, felt absolutely betrayed by everyone who worked at Disney. And apparently was very upset. He kind of refused to do any kind of press for the movie that wasn't already contractually obligated. Mm-hmm. He didn't like to talk about it for a while there, and at the time, nobody really knew why. The idea of that there was a lot of bad blood behind the scenes didn't come out for a while. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't, I don't even really remember it being kind of Hollywood gossip at the time. It probably was, but just not big enough that it would have ended up on like Entertainment Tonight or whatever I was watching at the time. But yeah, it is very depressing in retrospect of how badly he was treated by the higher ups at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that he finally got over it and came back and eventually embraced the genie.
He did, After the third movie came out, he did several PSAs as the genie for Disney. Look up "Great Minds Think for Themselves," where he does this great series of PSAs. So again, fences were eventually mended between Robin Williams and Disney, and he would continue to do voice work as the genie for a couple of different productions, mostly in the parks. Not for the video games, because, video games aren't going to pay Robin Williams money.
Which is weird, because Robin Williams was notoriously a gamer.
He named his daughter Zelda.
His daughter's name is Zelda, and that is, just as we're recording this, I think it was this Halloween, just a couple of months ago, that Zelda Williams went dressed as Link for Halloween. And that is a level of meta that I aspire to. So bravo, Zelda Williams, who is apparently one of the coolest people on the planet from everything I've heard. But yeah, I have such complicated feelings personally on the casting of Robin Williams. One, he was perfect for the role. The people who absolutely fought for him to get this role were right. I mean, nobody else can do what he did. But at the same time, this opened a very bad door for Disney.
Not just Disney, but every animation studio.
Oh, every single animation.
Pixar, Blue Sky, Illumination. Now it's all, every character has to be voiced by a celebrity in order to sell it to the masses. I mean, how many animated movies have we seen this year alone that was solely advertised on celebrity in this movie? And you don't really know much about the plot of the story. All you know is the entire cast is played by celebrities.
Yeah, there's a couple coming out soon. There's one that's a fantasy movie that the entire teaser trailer was just like, hey, this is Tom Holland playing this character.
Yeah,
And Chris Pratt, I
yeah,
think, is the other
and that
one.
is Disney. That's
Yeah, and all, but it's like, okay, and it wasn't until the new trailer that they just put in front of Frozen 2 that I knew anything about the plot of that movie.
the Brotherhood of the Trampoline Pants.
Yeah, that's a very disturbing. I'm not sure if I want to see that movie, honestly, now that I know what the plot is. But there was another one, also again, in front of Frozen 2, that the entire thing was just like, hey, Daniel Radcliffe is in this. And I was like, okay, great, but what's the plot? What are you selling me on other than it's got this voice? And I am a person who is absolutely addicted to the craft of voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
I admire voice actors so much. I am such a nerd about it. I know I can, and Tuesday has seen me do this in person where, like, I'll hear a voice from something for just a couple of seconds and I'll immediately know who that actor was.
Mm-hmm.
I can do it from a scream react. I can tell you who the actor was. I can do it from, like, random humming. I've done that before where a character just comes in the room and goes, and I know exactly who that voice is. I am freaky good at that. And I know a lot about the craft, and I am absolutely enamored with it. And the fact that voice acting jobs are being taken by people who are not voice actors,
Yeah,
angers me to my core, because there are people who train their entire lives for this. And they are people who I love hearing. If you told me, like, Maurice LaMarche is the main character in this, I would show up faster than if you told me, hey, the latest pop star or whatever is going to be the new Disney princess. I don't care. Give me, tell me you've just cast Grey Delisle as the new Disney princess. I will show up so fast.
which is what I said before. I'm glad and almost surprised that they kept Frank Welker to voice Scooby-Doo in the new movie.
Yeah, and all, because you would expect that it's going to be like, and now Snoop Dogg. It's like,
Snoop Dogg's cousin It, right?
yeah, Snoop Dogg is Cousin It. I mean, it's like, why? Frank Welker should have been Cousin It. Like, that is, if there was ever a part made for Frank Welker, it's doing random chittering as Cousin It. So yeah, I hate this trend. And I do not at all blame Robin Williams for this, because as we just said, Robin Williams tried to downplay his name as a selling point for this movie. Unfortunately, that is not the way it worked out, and the box office sales for Aladdin basically on the back of Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Changed animation forever in a very, very unfortunate way, in my opinion.
And that's just how it is now. I mean, there are movies that will not get made, period, animated wise, unless you have a celebrity in it.
Yeah, and we're fortunate that a lot of, like, musical theater actors are now becoming more household names.
Yeah.
So, Frozen is really kind of the gold standard now. You've got Idina Menzel, you've got Jonathan Groff, you've got I am blanking on
Josh Gad.
Real name. Thank you. You've got, they're all, Tony winners and, really well trained in their respective talent. And then, you've got something like Tangled, which didn't work out as well on the stunt casting for that, So, yeah, nobody with any power at Disney will ever listen to this podcast.
No.
But oh my god, just if I could have one genie wish, it would be like, please reverse this trend. Go back to having people who can sing and act and also trained voice actors in your animated movies, because it comes out so much better. It really does. The quality of your movie improves so much when you do that.
So on that, I think that's as much as we can say, because we've
My
already
final plea to the universe.
yeah, we've already been doing this for about 2.5 hours. So let's
Oops.
yeah. So let's say this is our final words on Aladdin and the and Robin Williams and everything. And unfortunately, we lost Robin Williams to depression. Let's be honest on that one.
Yeah.
And it's tragic, but we miss him. No one will ever replace him, and he's still loved. And the fact that he's created this lovable character in the genie that will live forever is a good thing to me, at least.
Yeah.
But let's and not to end that on a sad note, but we miss you, Robin. We love you, and but we have to move on to next week's show. Kiki, the holidays are upon us. I don't know if you've heard. Yeah, Kiki is not the biggest fan of the holiday season and specifically Christmas movies. But see, we are in 1992 with Aladdin. Our next stop on the Renaissance will be 1994 with The Lion King. So 1993 is right there. I think we on our road in the Renaissance. Let's take a detour in 1993. Let's review a Christmas movie for the holidays. So I'm going to say let's talk about next week. We talk about 1993's the classic movie Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. I think that is a movie that you can get into.
That is one of the few holiday films that I can actually deal with.
So next week, we'll be talking about Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. We invite you all, if you have Disney Plus, watch the movie. If you have it on DVD, Blu-ray, if you are old school and have it on VHS, pop it in and let's enjoy the movie. And we will all come back next time and we'll talk about it. So that's all we got to say here. So thank you for listening to us, and see you later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Rewatching the Magic. We invite you to keep the magic going by joining the conversation online. Find us on Facebook at Rewatching the Magic, on Twitter at Rewatch the Magic, and of course, find all new episodes at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com. Until next time, remember, the magic is for everyone. It only stops if you let it.